So the first point, قبول with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as you're sincere, you should be okay. The next one is the interpersonal acceptance. This takes it to another level because not everybody is going to see your intentions, of course, and not everybody's going to understand where you're coming from sometimes. So at the end of the day, we do tend to worry about what people think. But to alleviate that a little bit, think of this concept. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, meaning if your deeds are accepted by Allah, then there is a trajectory where it affects other people. And this comes in the hadith. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, He calls out to Jibrīl, "Oh Jibrīl, I love so-and-so." And then Jibrīl says to the inhabitants of the heavens, "Allah loves so-and-so." So imagine entering your name into that part. And it trickles down. فَوُضِعَ لَهُ الْقَبُولَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And then there's this قبول on earth. Now, if you dissect that, if you dig a little deeper, you see that there's people that you just love. You don't know why, you just like this person. There's something about them. Now, we can explain this from a psychological perspective, but here we're starting with the spiritual perspective. We'll get into the psychological correlates later, but for now, all you got to really worry about is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loving you, and that is going to definitely impact your personal relationships. Now, the framework itself is built on this idea that you have qabul with others. And this expands a lot, and we'll go into each pathway. But when it comes to, for example, the field of psychology, the framework has to have qabul, not necessarily amongst every other psychologist, but at least the scholars in the field. That's why when I teach this model, I like to pay close attention to something I call divergent credibility and convergent credibility. The idea is there are certain things that, others will never accept, especially if they're from different faiths, but those are the things that need to be dealt with. They can't just be ignored. However, there is so much more convergent credibility, things that go together. And I'm excited to show how each one of these concepts, each one of these applications has a biological correlate, has a cognitive correlate, social, occupational, all the main domains when it comes to working with others. So overall, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your deeds, which is going to have its own underlying mechanisms, sincerity, knowledge, certainty, but the idea is it has an effect on other people. And so you could, in a sense, call this worship-based practice or worship-centered practice, where anytime you're working with somebody else, your internal state is that it's an act of worship. It's an act of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you can focus on yourself and master the elements of being, then you're going to make a great therapist, a great educator, a great teacher, and most importantly of all, a great human being.